Who owns the embryos created by actress Sofia Vergara and her former fiancé Nick Loeb? That's actually the center right now of a lawsuit. The Modern Family actress's ex-partner wants to prevent her from destroying two female embryos they conceived through IVF and preserved during their engagement. But since the clinic did not provide forms to handle a plan of action in the event of a separation, the issue of who has the rights to terminate the unused embryos has been left unresolved. Well, earlier this week, I sat down with a lawyer and a fertility specialist to get their take on this life and death situation. It's a topic that's been in the news recently. We're talking about frozen embryos. Actress Sofia Vergara involved in a legal dispute. You've probably heard about it with her ex-boyfriend over the embryos. The controversy obviously has raised many questions, got a lot of people talking, like what actually goes into the process of storing those embryos and who gets custody of the embryos in the event that a couple does split. So joining us now, hopefully to answer some of these questions, we have Dr. Mark Trolice, a fertility specialist, and we also have Professor Lundy Langston at FAMU Law School. Thank you both for joining us.
My pleasure, Christine.
Dr. Trolice, I want to first go into what goes into the process of creating these embryos.
Well, in vitro fertilization is the most advanced reproductive technology that we have to offer, and it started in 1978. What we do with in vitro fertilization is that we give a woman fertility medication to stimulate their ovaries to make multiple eggs, because every month ovulation is only one egg, but we stimulate to produce multiple eggs. We monitor them with ultrasound and blood work, and then under sedation, right in an easy office procedure, we put an ultrasound into the vagina, a needle through the back of the vagina into the ovary, and we vacuum out the eggs. They go into the laboratory, we add sperm into the eggs, and then the embryo is formed, and then the embryos develop over the next several days, and then we transfer them back inside the woman's uterus.
Interesting. So from a legal perspective, Lundy, do couples usually form some sort of contract before they decide to do that? And if so, will that hold up in court?
That's the hope. The hope is that they do form a contract, that they do come to some sort of an agreement prior to going through that process. But it's not always the case. For example, Florida requires a contract with a physician, but it also has in the statute, in the event there is no contract. So that then means that it's allowed even without a contract. But the hope is that the individuals will come to an agreement about what should happen in the event that there's a breakup or there's a death.
The discussion is over the destruction of these embryos, which led to competing positions, you know, when life begins. Part of this argument is that the embryos are humans, therefore they shouldn't be destroyed.
Well, the issue really comes to not necessarily the fault of the couple. When the couple goes to a fertility clinic, they actually have never done this before, and it's up to the fertility clinic to provide the couple the education to empower them with the ability to handle these kind of circumstances. So I really put a little bit more responsibility on the clinic for this problem. In our clinic, the patients get a complete consent over what they're going to be doing with these embryos. Do they want to freeze the embryos? Do they want to discard the embryos? Do they want to donate them to research, donate them to other couples? The patients essentially own the embryos, okay? But the problem lies is, what happens if the couple, one deceased, or the relationship terminates? And those are things that really should have been talked about, and I don't know if they do because I wasn't privy to the consent form, but that should be really part of every in vitro fertilization's consent form, what to do with the embryos if the relationship terminates.
How long can you keep these embryos frozen?
Yeah, excellent question. And actually, right now, we have no time limit on how long to keep embryos.
That's incredible. Now, in this particular case, Vergara and her boyfriend split, but the embryos contain both of their DNA. So if she doesn't want them, can he actually move forward with using them?
The law is clear that you can't force a person to be a parent. they're not going to force parenthood. However, if that's the only way that a person can procreate, then the court may balance that interest and weigh in favor of the person if that's the only way that he can have a child.
Lundy, is this essentially equivalent to a custody battle, if you will, for the couple?
Well, it's a custody, in a sense it's a custody battle, but not really, because we haven't declared an embryo to be a person. We might say that there's life, but a person has rights.
And on that, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I think we could talk much more on this topic, and we will be in the future.